All right, getting ready to speak today at the Nine Bridges Forum. 30 minutes. Can't be that hard, right? What can go wrong? Beautiful sunrise over here in Jeju Island. Today, we're basically going to discuss what Random Golf Club is, which is going to be interesting. The main thing now is it's 7:56 and we have 64 minutes until going on stage. So the main thing now is keeping cool. I mean, I don't know, like speaking in front of crowds, they say is like the scariest thing you can do in life. Maybe a shark attack or if you're afraid of flying are also good things, but the main thing now is just to remember that the information is in here and it will come out. We've got slides, so there are slides to help remind me of what to say. But, and also remembering that everyone's just a golfer and we all want the same thing. So this is like, I think a group of like 50 people that have come from around the world to, I guess, kind of function like a think tank way. And we're going to explain sort of what I've learned from not being interested in golf to falling in love with the game and how that has shaped my vision of the game and what it is, what it can become, and how Random Golf Club plays a large part in that for me. If I had to choose between sinking a putt to break 80 or to break 70 or speak in public, I would much rather, well, the truth is I would much rather sink the putt now is what I'm saying. I'd rather have to deal with the putt. But the truth is, once I get on stage and I've already opened my mouth once, then I'm totally comfortable. It's the hour before where you're like, am I gonna flub something? Am I gonna forget something? Am I gonna draw a blank? But as the camera has proven, Erik doesn't draw blanks. We mostly just drop weird quotes and strange analogies. Like, I'm drawing a blank, so Evan, let's talk about the talk today. How do you feel? Are you ready to go?
No, I'm feeling great, as always. I feel like public speaking is maybe a sweet spot for me. I always feel comfortable on stage. It's an opportunity to just share our thinking with the world, which is always kind of fun.
So, see, Evan's going to talk for the first how long?
Probably about 5 minutes or so.
And basically that takes all the pressure off me.
Yeah, it's a good way that I can support you, tee you up, make sure that people are thinking about our talk in the right kind of way. Frame the conversation, as we say. There it is.
Simon's coming. How does it feel to be 19, Simon?
That's the same.
All right, elevator's here.
I'm here to talk about kind of what I am realizing now is an unusual take on the game. I came to golf at 30, and that was strange because the truth is I would never have been here, never would have met Simon, never would have met Jun in Tokyo at the USGA Innovation Symposium. All of these events of my life are detailed in that video where I wrote a letter to golf, which was actually, that whole video idea was actually a concept that I would kind of throw at people on my podcast and see if they could answer it. And ultimately, it's a very hard question to answer because, no matter how you play the game, it's going to give you something. And I think if you really play the game, that's what you spend your life trying to identify, what it actually is that it gives you. And in my answer to that letter, I realized that maybe I'm looking at golf in a selfish way when I look to get something from the game. And so that sort of spawned this new vision and this new school of thought. The most important person for me in a golf atmosphere is the person who is showing up to the course for the first time. A lot of us probably don't even remember that day. I remember mine very clearly. I was 30. I had been turning down invites to play golf with my older brother, who all he wanted was a golf buddy. And, for 30 years I had said, no, I'm not a golfer. I don't fit the golf stereotype. You've got the wrong guy. And my brother's a lawyer, and he is the golfer, right? He's the stereotypical golfer. And to some extent, we weren't even friends because of that gap until we played golf. And we went out to this course that had it had water right on every hole. And I began my golfing career with a pretty pronounced slice. I lost my first ball. It was a Pro V1 right out of the sleeve, and my brother just kept giving it to me throughout the day, and that was kind of, I didn't realize how generous it was at the time, because you don't know how much golf balls cost when you come to golf. And if you do, you're going to go buy used balls at the store. I did that for a while. But what happened was I fell in love with the game, and it was pretty instantaneous, and I talked about it in the video. It was really just the moment of impact. Something happened there, and, even the best players in the world don't claim that it happens every day for them. But basically, coming into the game after living a non-golfer's life, I was like, the blindfold was ripped off, and I was forced to look at this game. My former career was a documentarian. I guess it still is, actually, but I'm focused primarily on golf. My job was to ask questions. That was what I got paid to do. People brought me in to say, ask as many questions as you can. And so coming into golf, I had a lot of questions. Why is it like this? Why is it like that? The biggest question I had was, why did I think I knew who a golfer was? The truth is, why would you ever take the steps it takes to go become a golfer or to play golf? I mean, does anyone in the audience ever scratch your head about how difficult it is to get interested in the game of golf? I see one person nodding. Let's talk later. It's an impossible game to get into. And I'm sure that everyone in here, obviously, you spent decades in the golf industry and the golf business trying to maybe solve these problems. And I don't know if I have a solution to that, but I think what I really have is a very stark experience of the difficulty that I was faced with. It was almost like I had a diagnosis. You will now get into golf and you need to figure it all out. I remember in the beginning, I was so clueless about the game that I thought golf for me would just be the driving range. I didn't think I would actually go play a course because that just seemed way too complicated. So the why golf, right? I think the great thing about why golf is, does anyone know how many golfers there are in the world? Approximate number? 58 million golfers. So, thank you. I'm now going to use that in a quote. I believe that there are 58 million reasons to play the game. And there are 58 million ways to play the game. I really do. Every person comes at it. And when I've asked, celebrities or authors or writers or professional golfers to write a letter to golf, everyone comes up with a different answer because they have a different version of the game in their head. For a lot of people, it's family, right? For most of us. For a select few, it's a trophy. I think in some ways, when we look at all the demographics in the game of golf, I think that's not necessarily the most important thing, is to group people into these buckets of percentages. Because I wasn't playing golf and I wouldn't have been reflected in any of the below numbers here. What we have is interesting is the red number on the right. 15 million people very interested in playing golf. Well, why aren't they just going and playing? Right? I'm not here to talk about why they're not playing because we all know it's very complicated and expensive and whatever. But what I am here to talk about and what I am here to do is to basically double that number. The best message we ever receive through whatever, email, Instagram, direct message, tweet, YouTube comment is, there's two versions of it. One is, I love this video and I haven't played golf in 10 years. But I'm going to go play. I'm going to dust the sticks off and I'm going to go play because whatever you're doing out there looks fun and I haven't seen that. A lot of times the media in golf is a grind. A lot of the quotes around golf are centered around, how difficult it is and, it is difficult, let's face it. But the idea of switching up the goal of why we play, that's a big part of it because going back to my own personal story, which is the one that I really know the best, is I came into golf and I loved it. And first I wanted a good swing. Then I wanted to be able to work the ball both ways. Then I wanted to break 80 and then I wanted to break par. At some point, that well of desire is going to run dry and I'm going to experience dissatisfaction. Has anyone experienced that before? Okay, I got a couple head nods. Max has experienced it, I can tell. Simon, you've experienced it. Simon shot 74 at Augusta, folks, and he's still experienced it twice. I'm really looking forward to your talk. But that that dissatisfaction is quite real, and it's like a drug addict. You will never consume enough of the product to actually satisfy you. And so in my own experience, what I really learned was switching up the goal. The goal would never be to shoot my personal best. I interviewed Pete Dye about 8 years ago, and I said, what is it about golf? And that's my favorite question to ask really good thinkers because they can really come up with a pretty impressive answer. And he said, the thing about golf is that the average golfer shoots their personal best on a Saturday, and then they go out on the next Saturday, and they think it's going to be like last Saturday. Really profound. I've experienced it. So switching up the goal of why we play was very important to me, and I'll get into that. What is golf? This is kind of interesting. I'm really happy to be in Korea talking about this stuff, because if there's one country that's really moving forward in this stuff, it's right here. I'm really excited that we're going to spend 2 days in Seoul and basically play a bunch of golf and never go outside, because I'm really into that. At Top Golf, I don't know too much about this stuff. I know that a lot of people that go to Top Golf don't actually play traditional golf, and I'm not sure if that's even important. Right? All I know is that this is where we're headed, and everybody kind of knows all this stuff already. And that's really exciting. And again, I can't wait to get firsthand experience of what it's like here. Because, in LA, it's a different scene, Where are we playing golf? The thing to look at in this slide is 77% in public courses, which kind of reflects the inventory of courses in America. Now, the reason why I find public golf so valuable and important, and I mean, this is not new information to anybody here, and personally, I was a dues-paying member of a nice private club in Los Angeles for a long time. But the reason why this is important is because when we go back to the most important person in the game of golf, the person who's just showing up, is that that's their experience from the get. And I mean, man, I go to a nice hotel and I look at hospitality from the top down, and I am in awe that so many people are able to be motivated to make an experience positive for somebody. And then I go to a public golf course and I'm like, why does everyone treat me like they don't want me here? I thought I paid the agreed upon fee. And am I bothering somebody by showing up? And this happened last week at Rancho Park in Los Angeles. Now, we're not going to fix that problem in this room, but I think it's important to think about from the perspective of the person who's coming to golf for the first time. I mean, as I think about it right now, I played golf last weekend at a 9-hole course. I met a guy. We had the same watch. We got along immediately. And I said, so you play a lot of golf? He said, I just started a year ago. And I said, why on earth did you do that? And he said, well, I had to go to a bachelor party, and they were playing golf, and I had to not look like an idiot, so I did some practice, and I got the bug. That's exactly what he said. And then, it was just so interesting to see that is happening every week around the world. And, he was talking about all the public courses in LA and where he likes to practice and stuff like that. And I just see that as such a fertile ground for where we come into the game and how we basically apply it into our lives. Just a fact. When are people golfing? This is interesting to me because I can't really relate to this number, right? The youth getting into the game of golf. That's really exciting. I cannot relate to that. I don't know what that's like. I'm more aimed at the people who, I forgot the other message that I really like to get is I watch your videos with my spouse and now they're going to come play. They're open to coming and playing. And I mean, that's how it happens. Like, I think we don't again, I'm harping on this point, but I think we don't put enough energy on that sort of opening conversation. I'm assuming everyone here plays quite a bit of golf. When was the last time you brought someone who has never held a club to a driving range or a golf course? Was it this last year? Raise your hand if it was. Wow. I'm going to finish my talk now. That's great. That's why we're in the right room right now. But a lot of times when we've had this conversation with other groups of people, and it's been zero. There's literally no benefit to bringing someone to the game of golf other than slowing down, ruining your own game, whatever it is. I mean, the great thing here is, I know Simon has access to a lot of wonderful opportunities in Scotland where they're doing it right, kids courses and whatnot. And here with simulator golf, you can basically, the commitment is much lower to bringing someone out. So anyway, this is really interesting to me, especially when you look at, 14 rounds for juniors, 8 for adults. So a dedicated golfer is someone who plays 8 rounds a year. And it's interesting to hear that the juniors are beating us in that. I frequently wish I had started playing golf at a younger age. How are we playing golf? This is really where I dig in here. Having traveled a lot and been basically tasked with answering a lot of questions, asking a lot of questions about the game of golf, one of the things that we kind of fell into was this idea of all of the different ways of playing, right? We played a match in the slums of Mumbai where I was advised against getting a tattoo because it would be potentially a health hazard. I lost the match, and the loser was supposed to get a tattoo. So I didn't get that. But anyway, you know, all of these different cross sections of the game. We should show that video. But, you know, and then to some of the nicest courses in the world, which I obviously look at as a huge opportunity and experience to be able to take part in. But the kind of way that we play golf, I have seen this sort of experience that was relatively random, that was meant to reflect my experience of early on showing up to a golf course, paying my $18 or my $43 and getting paired up with 3 people that I didn't know, and eventually basically maybe becoming friends with them. And that's happened a couple dozen times. My best friend in the world, right? I mean, we met on a golf course. The reason why we're here is through golf. We basically developed a thing that was aimed at creating an inclusive experience for people who didn't have a golf club, which is a lot of people. I don't have a number on that. Let's just say 50 million. We're good with that. Something like that. The inclusive experience around the game of golf was, for me, you know, being a member at a private club and then leaving there and realizing that, you know, I still wanted a group of people to connect with and to see the game the way I saw it and to be focused on a couple instrumental aspects to the game: inclusivity and perhaps a new version of success, of what a successful round would be. We've seen a lot of people say, I listened to your podcast about not caring about score, and whoops, I had my personal best on the next round. So there's science there as well. You know, Rotella and Parent and all of the great mental coaches will tell you that. So I left my golf club in LA, Wilshire, and I started a new club. And we called it Random Golf Club because a big part for me of the experience of walking through the golf world was the random experiences of who you meet up with. I think we're all in this room probably have experienced that before somewhere in golf. One of the best examples is I walked up to a random tee box in Sydney and met a guy that I hadn't seen in years, and we ended up playing together. I don't know, that stuff just really gets me. So when we looked at Random Golf Club, we were like, what even is this? We don't even really know what this is. But what it first began as, we were in Melbourne, and a couple people had said, oh, you're in Melbourne, let's all go play golf together. I'd love to play golf with you. And this is about 2 years ago. And I said, okay, so we've got about 15 people that said they want to play golf, but we can't all go play golf in foursomes because that's kind of weird. We should all try to play as a group. So I just invited everybody to the golf course, and then I showed up and I said to the head pro, I said, do you mind if we just all play as one big group? And if you've been a member at a private club, you've probably experienced these kind of horse races is what they call them. And, you know, 25 people will go out and play in a group. It's not that common at public courses. In fact, it's, for the most part, we find it's 50-50, even doable. Most places won't even let you do this. But Royal Park in Melbourne, which is the home course to some great golfers in the middle of the city, they're a 9-hole executive course, allowed us to do it. So we went out with 12 people. We played, I think, in a little over 2 hours. And it was the beginning of something really impressive to me, because there were a couple different takeaways that I didn't expect at all. One was we all had a lot of fun, which I was hoping for, but I didn't know. 2 was nobody got injured, which was great. 3, there were some close calls. 3 was people had the opportunity to kind of find their own group within a group. And everybody had the opportunity to create their own conversations around the game. It was like a moving cocktail party with a subtle purpose. And then the last one was that it really broke down what I thought golf was instantaneously. We all seemed to immediately have something else that was more important. It was as if the conversation around what's important in golf didn't become a conversation, but rather an experience. And so the community basically walked through and made this happen. So that was the beginning of Random Golf Club, and at the time I didn't even think anything would happen with it. But I think since then we've done about 10 of them, and the largest one we had, this photograph here, that was 50 people. And we did that at Pacific Grove, which is unfortunately named Poor Man's Pebble Beach. But it is, it's right next to Pebble. and it's a municipal course with 9 holes on the water. And we put a call out the day before and said, who wants to play golf at Pacific Grove? And we called the pro shop ahead of time and we said, are you okay if we invite potentially 50 people to come out and play golf? And they agreed to do that. And not only that, they agreed to let everyone play for free. And what happened there that I hadn't seen happen before was it wasn't just golfers that showed up. There were a lot of people that were actually just sort of walking by the golf course and they were like, what on earth is this? What are you guys doing? This is not golf. And I think in some ways, right, I mean, it's a drop in the bucket, but this is one of the things that I really look at as far as creating potentially multiplying experiences around the world for people to basically come to golf in a totally unpretentious way. Rules are merely guidelines at that point. And what you have is, as a new golfer, if you show up, you have 49 mentors, 49 teachers. And all of these questions can get answered very quickly. And so for me, this is the one thing I can do to give back to golf. It's a very time consuming and it's, to be totally honest with you, exhausting to do. But I see this as being, for me, one of the most important things moving into 2020. And that's really what I came here to discuss with you guys because, you know, I love traveling. I love making videos. But this is something a little bit different for me. And it came out of a pure idea that was more of a question and now seems to be forming into a bit of an answer for me. I could see a world where in 10 years, this does actually change the numbers down below. I could see a world where in 20 years, this becomes the go-to way to begin the game, to get into the game. And in some ways, it takes a lot of pressure off the individual, I played golf for 10 years and now I'm gonna show you how to swing. That's a lot. I'll be totally honest with you, I don't wanna do that. But as golfers, we all need to realize that that is actually our responsibility because someone did it to you. And without paying it forward, the game will ultimately not succeed in the way that we all want it to. I think I'm done. Any questions? Please, no. No questions. Okay, great. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.